If they get bit by the snake that they're trying to mess with, you can really do a lot of cool damage.
Hello.
Good morning.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, how are you?
This is a hug. Wow. But usually people are like, okay, your hair, but like this is another level.
Well, you know you got to. When you get to a certain place in your life, you just have to.
I know, but like people who say mine's too big, no, nothing's too big.
Oh
right?
my God, this is great. Yours
Beautiful.
looks great.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
It's really nice to meet you in person finally.
Yeah.
What an honor for you to come all the way out here. Where do you live now?
I live in Silver Lake.
So that's how far? We're like Van Nuys-ish right now.
62 miles.
62 miles?
It's God, how long is it?
You're like, where are we?
What are we? It's I mean, I guess it took normally if there wasn't the thing, I would have been like 29 minutes, 28 minutes to get over here, usually.
Hashtag LA.
Hashtag LA, which I don't mind usually. I love driving. Actually, I don't have a problem with.
You don't
traffic.
mind LA traffic?
Oh, not at all.
What? You're the only person I've ever heard say that.
Yeah, I mean the secret to LA traffic, to saving your sanity, is adaptive cruise control.
Okay.
That way you just set it, just forget it, just like chill, listen to your podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Have a good time.
You can actually get a lot done if you have stuff to listen to.
You can. Meetings.
Okay, what are we doing here?
This is called Salad Power. It's 2 salads in 1 pouch.
Hold that up to that camera, please, Reggie.
Salad Power.
Spinach, kale, carrots, broccoli heads, apple, and lemon, and it's a smoothie.
Yeah, and
it's like when you're 4 years old and you just
exactly. Yeah. It's got the consistency of it's like applesauce, and for any of you, it's probably before your time, but a V8. It tastes like a V8.
For the record, you are exactly 7 months older than me. That's
really
72 babies.
What?
Yes.
That's sick.
It's awesome, actually.
Thank
we have a lot to talk about.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to have to interrupt your smoothie spinach drinking because this is a thing on my show. Gotta get comfy.
Ooh.
Like this is the only way to get super comfy.
What is that?
And I have faith that you're going to say yes.
Oh yeah.
Like you just have to pick your own pair of fuzzy socks to wear when to get comfortable. So,
okay.
Your call.
Let's see here.
I'm gonna go green today.
Oh my God! Oh, green. I do love green. That's great. What is this? This looks like grayness. This looks like.
I mean, I can't imagine you're gonna
Swedish.
pick anything that's gonna match.
Oh,
you can't do that.
This is pretty good. Some like Swedish eagle, something going on. Yeah, that looks.
I know.
That looks good. That looks good. I'll try
With
that.
dogs. Okay. See,
Yeah, I'll try
thank
that.
you.
Here you go.
I knew I could get you to play along.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
So, by the way, it's amazing
nice.
what a little bit of a Google search can do, and obviously we went much deeper with you. But Reginald,
Yes.
Lucien,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Roger,
That's correct.
Watts.
Yes. Yeah.
5 names.
Yeah.
What's the story?
One purpose. I don't, it's a good question. The middle names, I think Lucien was named after a neighbor that my mom grew up next to in France. His name was Monsieur Lucien. That's how we called him. And then I think Franc is from her brother-in-law. So Franc is, her father.
Oh, yeah, it's not Frank.
Yeah, Franc, and Roger was...
I Americanized the hell out of that.
No, you should. I mean, that's how else would you know? But and that is her brother-in-law, who is now, they got divorced, so he's no longer, but that's to Roger.
I hope it ended well, based on the fact that his name is part of you now.
Yeah.
Just say yes.
Yeah. No, I actually, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened to him. I mean, my aunt's still alive that was married to him, so I could probably get it from him.
Okay.
Or her.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Reginald, Lucien, Franc, Roger, Watts. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll work on that.
Mm-hmm. Lucien, Franc, Roger, Watts.
That's beautiful.
Easy. So easy.
How about my mother?
What is it?
Mona. She's half Irish, half Italian.
Oh, okay.
Mona Maria Monica Margaret O'Neill, and then married Steele.
Oh.
So nobody could decide. Everybody had their say, and my grandmother finally went, "Fine, you all win, leave me alone," and they all got him in there.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? That's a lot.
That's kind of cool, though.
It kind of is.
I'm glad that they all
won. And
won.
It fits her, and if you met her, you would be like, "Oh, absolutely, all of the names."
Oh my God.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's cool. I
okay,
like that.
We have a lot in common besides the fact that you're 7. I'm glad that you're 7 months older than me, not 7 months younger.
Thanks.
Number 1. Number 2, military kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your dad was Air Force?
Air Force, yeah.
Okay. And you were born in Germany?
Yeah, Stuttgart.
See, you even say that the right way. I'm like Stuttgart, Würzburg.
A stuttered gird. Stuttgart. Yeah, Stuttgart.
Würzburg,
Yeah.
Frankfurt.
Where were you?
Well, no, it's not about me.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Right. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, take me through, because actually it's funny. Everyone says, well, where did you live? I'm like, okay, sit down, get comfortable.
Yeah.
So I feel like from what I saw, your list might be a little shorter, but go.
You mean like the countries we lived in?
Born in
Born
Germany.
in Stuttgart.
Mhm.
We moved. I don't think it counts, but we were like in Italy for like 2 months, so I don't really think that really
No,
counts.
it counts, because it sounds
Yeah.
cool to say I lived in Italy.
Okay, lived in Italy for 2 months. Then outside of Madrid, for till I was 3.5. So it was like a year in Germany, the 2 months or whatever, and then till about 3.5, almost 4, and then we moved to Great Falls, Montana, and then I just stayed there till I was 18.
Oh, that's easy.
Not a ton, like other military brats. Like, they have like 8 places they've lived.
I think I have more
3
than that.
high schools and all that stuff.
Exactly. But wait, the last one was what after the quickie in Italy?
Was Madrid.
Madrid.
Outside of Madrid, yeah.
To Montana.
Yes, that's correct.
What's the Air Force base in Montana?
Malmstrom.
Oh, is it still there?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a helicopter-based base now, but
Okay.
it used to be like squadrons, like fighter squadrons, and then of course like Montana has like Minutemen nuclear arsenal as well.
Oh,
so.
yeah. All kinds of stuff out there. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Born in Panama.
Panama. Yeah.
Yes. Canal Zone area-ish. And then moved back to the States after like a year. West Point. My dad went to
Okay.
West Point. He went back to coach.
Okay.
And then Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Ord in Monterey, California.
Mm-hmm.
Dad had to learn Greek. The Defense Language Institute's there.
Oh,
Had to
okay.
learn Greek in 10 months, fluent.
Wow.
To move to Greece for 3 years outside of Athens. Hellinikon Air Force Base. He was on an Air Force base, even the Army. And then to Belgium. And then back to Colorado Springs when I was in 7th grade, Fort Carson.
Uh-huh.
And then back to Fort Benjamin Harrison in '89, just in time for my senior year of high school, and that was fun.
Wow. Jeez.
And then career-wise, after college career-wise, it continues. But the military thing,
Yeah.
you were younger, I guess, when you came back to Montana. How old?
Yeah. I mean, well, in Montana, I was 4 almost.
So you don't
3 and
really
a half.
remember too much of Europe living there as a baby, right?
No, not really. There's like flashes of it, but no,
Mhm.
I really didn't have like you were conscious for all these moves and stuff like that.
Which
so
is good and sometimes difficult, but
yeah, and you lived a pretty hardcore fort life.
yes.
Like you were mostly a fort person. You lived in a lot of fortifications.
Yes, fortifications, exactly. Very structured,
Yeah.
but also very welcoming, I think, and friendly, and the whole military vibe where you're everybody's so accepting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's something that people on the outside don't realize. That to me, that's the beautiful part of the military life.
Totally.
Is so racially,
Yeah.
it's so diverse.
Yep.
My dad's black, mom's white, and it was like we just blended right in.
That's totally true. Yeah, that was the one saving grace of Great Falls is, Montana's like, what, 98% white or 96% white, something like that. It's really high. And, I think my high school, when I graduated, and generally throughout the entire school system I was in, it was about like maybe 9 black kids maximum.
Total.
And yeah. And, but you had a lot of like, half Thai, half Japanese, half, whatever, Greek, half, there were a lot of like half because the, servicemen or women would go meet people from the countries they were stationed in. They would get married and have kids. So so of the cities in Montana, it was probably the most cosmopolitan.
Thanks to the military.
Thanks to the military.
Yeah, it is such a blessing. How was that for you being one of 9?
7 of 9. I don't know. Sometimes it was weird, but like most of the time it was fine. Like, I was just another kid, and I don't think I really played into the racism aspect of it. Like I wasn't looking for people treating me unfairly, but my mom was.
Okay.
My mom, like my French mom, she was very always like looking out for someone like doing me wrong, like and ready to attack.
Mama Bear comes out.
Yeah, for sure.
Were there moments that you recall where she was like,
Yeah, I mean, she, sometimes she would show up at school and would be loud about stuff, like a teacher maybe not treating me fairly or something like that. But she was also equally like into like down with the corporal punishment. If I, talked back to a teacher or something like that, she'd be there and she'd be like, yeah, well, if he did that, then he deserves this, like, so she was kind of like,
well,
justice. She was, but she would also make like scenes and stuff, and I didn't really like that. She's really loud and like she didn't have any fear at all. Like she was intense.
I like the scene. I'm visualizing
Yeah.
her going off on something probably legitimate, and then as kids are, it's like, oh gosh, Mom, stop.
Yes, a lot of that.
Give me one.
Well, I mean, I can't really.
There's so many.
There's so many. I mean, she would show up. I mean, it was mostly, like junior high and high school. That's when you really don't want your parents around. It's like, I don't have parents. It's like my parents don't exist.
Yes.
They stay at home. They provide my rent. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were times where, my mom might come over to a friend's house if I was late or something, and they would like, she would find me and like make a big scene and be like, God, Mom, stop, But a lot of the worst part was school. Like when she showed up at school, that would be terrifying.
I like that you said corporal punishment, that she believed in corporal punishment.
Yeah.
That basically just means accountability. Okay, I screwed up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, what were the punishments like? Because for me, it was a bunch of push-ups,
Really?
Like,
you were lucky. That was cool. You actually got to get in shape.
Like,
Yeah. Which lasted, obviously. But no, I mean, we're talking about the paddle.
Oh, you had the paddle.
Yeah. We still had the paddle. It's funny as, again, before your time.
Whatever.
But
you know what? But I'm going to go with it. Go.
Listen, you Gen Zers. No, it's giving. No, I mean, I don't know. The corporal punishment, I didn't actually mind. It sucked. It wasn't cool. But at the same time, I do like that there were fucked up things. I mean, it's part of my French, but there were like some screwed up things that teachers would do, like say to you that like nowadays they just couldn't get away with it.
Public school?
Public school, yeah. So there's a lot of things that people could, if they could just get away with a lot more back then. However, there was something kind of cool about the directness. Like if they didn't like you, they'd just be like, you suck or whatever. And then hopefully you told your parents, hopefully you weren't bullied into being silent or whatever. But if I told my parents or discussed it with it, my parents would be like, well, you go back and you tell them this or blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
Like there was this kind of like direct response stuff going on that I think kind of, I'm glad that I lived through that. I don't think I could handle it if I were like, nowadays it's necessary because it's just the consciousness, the world that we live in and the internet and all this. It's like much, much more socially complicated. But I'm glad that I came from an era where I could directly confront things if I needed to.
Yeah.
And people could kind of directly confront each other. And if you stuck up for yourself and, a bully was bullying you and you stuck up for yourself or you stuck up for someone who was being bullied, and you made an example, oftentimes that bully would acquiesce. They would just stop.
Absolutely.
And they would put them in their place because they're not being a bully because they're being an asshole. They're being a bully because there's not an outlet for whatever their frustration, so forth, and at home, and maybe their parents are like being hard, whatever. And then they're like, well, I'm going to use the same tactics on someone else. So, and I was always trying to like if there was a bully, I tried to make them laugh.
Oh, interesting. So humor.
Yeah. Or I would make fun of them in front of people. And once everyone starts laughing, it's like, what are they going to do? And especially when everybody really likes you, if like someone starts messing with you, but everybody likes you, people will step up and they'll cover for you.
And you were liked.
Yeah. I made sure of it. It was kind of a survival tactic, but also I think I've just always been kind of an entertainer.
Okay, a couple of things there. For the record, it's funny, my ex-husband was describing once to, we can go deep on that someday.
Okay, all right.
Was describing once to our son, he's 19 now, but probably 10 years ago. And this kid, had taken his iPad or something that he needed at school. And and took his clothes and his iPad in the gym, in the locker room, and shoved it in the sink and water. And he'd been doing it a couple times. And, I'm like, I'm going to go rip the kid's heart out.
Yeah,
like I'm your mother, same one. I will cut you.
Yeah.
And then, okay, it's a different era. Let me breathe first.
Yeah.
And his dad told him the story about when he was probably freshman in high school, and this big kid, like the typical thing, right? Big kid bullying him, and he was smaller at the time. And every day in the lunch line, he would just punch him. And he went home and told his dad, he was like, that's on you. Punch him back.
Yes.
Next day in line, bully punched him. He punched him right back in the jaw. The bully looked at him. He turned around. It never happened again.
Yes.
Like, to me,
yes,
that still should be what we're teaching our kids today. Are there other issues? Yes. But what happens is it does, like you said, it stops. And if we allow our kids to accept that, I mean, there's major repercussions to that as well, right? But is this a bad thing today?
For sure. Well, I mean, it's like, I think, the wise thing is like, if you can, try to avoid the conflict by being creative, right? Like, try creative solutions. There are psychological things you can do. However, sometimes that just doesn't work. And in those cases, and if someone's pushing you, you have every right to respond the way that you're going to respond, because they're taking the gamble. The person who's the bully is taking the gamble. They're taking the risk, right? They don't see it that way, but they're taking a risk. They're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. If they don't get a response, then they're just going to keep doing it, and they get emboldened by it, and then they like choose other victims and things like that. And so if they, once in a while, they get bit by the snake that they're trying to mess with, they'll think twice about it. And also, if you're creative about it, like, you can really do a lot of cool damage. But it's like, they're all opportunities. To me, like, a bully it just represents an opportunity, because some of the bullies, I remember I told a story, I think maybe it's in my book, but it was a classic story. Do you remember, this might be before your time, but there was a movie called 3 O'Clock High. It came out in the 80s. It was...
Who was in it?
I don't think anyone that I can remember that was famous. It was like, it kind of snuck in there. It was like Better Off Dead, and like Breakfast Club and all this stuff. It was in that genre, that time period. Anyways, all it was about, it was a brilliant movie. It was about one day of school where a troubled kid that had a violent past is like transferred into this high school, and he's known as a bully. He's like leather jacket, like stringy hair, like just like strong jaw, like just menacing character. Everyone's talking about all the things that he did. All the kids are talking about it. And then this kid, the main character, he goes to the bathroom. That kid is in the bathroom in the same, urinating, same whatever line of stalls. And he says something that pisses the guy off. And the guy thinks that he's like making fun of him or something like that. And so the bully guy says, "You and me after school." And so the whole movie is about him trying to get out of this eventual confrontation
at the end of the day
with this bully, right? And he's trying everything. He's paying off like the toughest kid in school. He's like trying to get him expelled. He's trying to, whatever. It's all this stuff, everything to avoid the inevitable outcome. And I had a similar situation like that in high school, where there was we used to play the flinching game or whatever, and I was in football. And so there was a time when this guy, lunged at me, and I flinched, and he happened to be like the kid that was known as like one of the hardest hitting kids in school. Like, he was like one of the toughest kids in school. And so he owed me a hit, but like, it was too late for him to hit me back, because the bell rang or whatever before we were supposed to. And so we like left, and he's like, "I owe you." And I was like, fuck. And so I was trying everything to avoid him, for like a few days. And then finally I knew he was in the locker room at gym. And one day I just went straight in the locker room, and I went straight up to him. I was like, "Let's just get this over with." And
it was like weighing on you.
Yeah, I was like, this is too, because it was just like so much anxiety and stress. Like, when am I going to run into him? When is he going to, because we're playing in the halls, like they just punch, whatever.
Was it like 2 for flinching?
It was something like that. And if you flinched again, you get like another thing. It's like, I can't remember what it was, but I think he owed me, or no, that's what it was. I don't know. Anyways, whatever it was, there was finer details that I'm kind of missing out. But the point is, like I said, let's just get this over with. And then he was like, all right. And then I turned my shoulder to him, and then he went to hit me, and he goes, like that. And he's like, "Have a nice day."
No way.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck, that was so cool. Like, that was so cool. I think that he respected the fact that I just he knew that I was like scared.
Yeah.
But I think he respected that I just went straight up to him and I was just like let's
just go,
let's
dude.
just take care of this. And that was cool. And I'll never forget that. I think that's because you never know. That's the thing about bullies. It's like, I'm never going to be like, that person's ultimate asshole.
Like an evil person.
Yeah,
right.
they're not an evil person. They're whatever. It doesn't excuse their behavior in any way, but there is a reason why they're behaving that way. And I think like we underestimate. Sometimes bullies just want respect. The only way they're getting respect is by being bullies. And so sometimes when you show that you can see them a little bit, or like you're like, hey, I saw you at woodshop. That thing that you made is really dope.
Yeah.
Like they're like, what? Like, they're like, there's more value to me than that. Like that'll do a lot to a bully.
That's deep.
Yeah.
I think you're so right. And, even as you're older, if someone's rude at the grocery store to you, the cashier, it doesn't mean that they don't like you or you did something.
Totally.
But I sometimes take it that way. And I'm like, wait, what did I do to her?
I know.
My mother used to tell me, it's actually not about you. There's something in here.
Yes.
That also showed you that bully, that kid, the hardest hitter, has a heart.
Totally.
Has probably, to your point, something else going on.
Hi guys, thanks again for watching my new show. Today I want to really thank you by telling you about something great, meat. So there's a company called Good Ranchers, and they're America's #1 meat delivery service. And they just launched their new King Box for Father's Day. So the King Box, it's packed with the finest cuts of American meat that will make Dad's Day extra special. Full of thick-cut bone-in ribeyes, which are my favorite, center-cut filet mignons, and thick-cut bone-in New York strips. All of them are sourced from local family farms and aged 21 days to perfection. Buy one today before they sell out at goodranchers.com. As you know, though, the work of a good father never ends. So Good Ranchers is offering free bacon for life with any new subscription. And if you use my code SAGE, you'll receive 2 packs of Good Ranchers uncured applewood smoked bacon with every single order. The best part of being subscribed, the free bacon thing, it isn't just for this year. You'll get it next year and every single year after that too. So here's 3 steps to knock this Father's Day out of the park. Step 1, go to goodranchers.com. Buy their brand new King Box for a dad you know, and subscribe to any of their custom curated boxes filled with 100% American beef, chicken, pork, or wild-caught seafood. That's step 1. Step 2, use my code SAGE at checkout to claim your free applewood smoked bacon for life. And step 3, get free shipping on all your orders and make this Father's Day one to remember. If you needed any other reason to support Good Ranchers, they're not only amazing partners of my show, thanks again, but they support the paralyzed veterans of America too. Every order saves American farms and supports American veterans. So change the way you buy meat today at goodranchers.com. Use my code SAGE to claim your free bacon for life. That life part, that might be the best part. Make this Father's Day extra special with Good Ranchers, because this year, doesn't Dad deserve a little bit more than just a tie? Of course he does.
I love, though, that you said that you knew your ability to either make a situation less tense with your humor or whatever. Like I think it feels like quite often it takes people a long time to get there and to realize that skill that you can take with you forever, and you obviously have. But at that young of an age, to know that you can affect so much with that feeling. Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice thing to know that you have options. That's all it is. You have options. You don't have to react to something exactly the same way every time. It's like it's adaptable. I think music and theater and all of those things helped a lot, because the more that you absorb and enjoy different points of view and different ways of making things, it kind of broadens your mind and opens you up to more possibilities, as opposed to like, I think sports has a lot of wisdom in it, but it can also breed some limitation as well. But also some of the wisest people can be sports people. They're like, they see honor in what they're doing. They play by the rules, but they're always like trying to figure out ways to like break the rules in a lawful way, to like evolve whatever they're doing. There can be, but it's like, I think the arts has like this really great ability to do that to the mind a little bit more easily.
I think with athletes, quite often it's just black and white.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I played great, but yeah, we lost, so it doesn't matter. And they're taught
Yeah.
to say that. Hopefully, sometimes I hope that deep down, you can say, okay, we lost, and that sucks, and whatever you want it as a team, but I did do this well, better than the last game. Like there has to be, you have to choose
Yeah.
to take a positive from certain situations, even if you get your face bashed in by the school bully, right?
I know.
Did you
It's
ever?
hard.
I mean, did you ever get the crap
Fights?
beaten out of you?
No, luckily I didn't. There was
Okay, good.
there was a kid in like elementary school that wanted to fight me. I almost remembered his name. I think it was Clint something, but he was like,
Give me the first and last name. Let's Facebook him, see where he is.
Let's like check with the AI, the great AI in the sky. But no, I mean, I don't know. I think he was going through something. We knew each other we were in elementary school, and I think this would have been 4th or 5th grade. And just one day he just decided that he wanted to fight me. There was like no reason at all. And he was like, after school, you and me, whatever. And I was like, I don't want to fight you. I'm just not I'm not into fighting.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
A lover, not a fighter. It's like, I don't believe it. And so after school, sure enough, he started following me. I was like, dude, I don't want to fight, And then we went into this yard of this house. I think they had been vacant for a while, but it was close to the school, and it was on this hill. And we got into the yard or something like that, and he really wanted to fight. And he was like, whatever, getting ready to fight. And I remember like he came up and he was going to try to hit me or whatever. And then I just like got inside and because I was like a weirdly strong kid.
Yeah.
So I just like picked him up and threw him into these bushes, and it was like really sharp branches. It was like a lot, very 30. I threw him into the bushes. And he was like, or whatever. And then and he got more mad, and he like got out of the bushes. And then luckily my teacher, Mr. Maddox, the only black teacher I think I had in all of my education, and he was a cool dude. He used to dress like super badass, like early 80s, like tight slacks. He was like in good shape, and he had like beard and like
awesome.
tight afro. And he like got out of his car and he says, hey, you guys knock it off right now or whatever. And then he's like, you get home or whatever, and told the dude to leave. And then I ended up, going home. I don't even think I told my parents about it. But it was like, to me, the fighting is just dumb. I'm like looking at people, I'm like, why do you want to fight? Like, it's like, oh, I need to fight. And I'm just like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, that's in the movies.
Right. But yeah, it's this aggression. That's what boys are supposed to do, I think as a mother myself, I have 3, 2 in college, 1 about to go to college.
Oh, wow.
And then thinking back about my mom, because we're the exact same age and just that time period, I feel like your mother and my mother pretty much would have gotten along from what you said about the strength part in particular.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that and the influence that she had on your life from as far back as you can remember to be that strong person and be that protector of her little boy.
Yeah, I mean, she was just insane, like how passionate she was. I mean, I think the thing that I probably got the most from her is like I recognize how hard she worked, and my dad worked hard too, but I was closer to my mom. She was just like an incredibly hard worker. I appreciate it more in hindsight, but she was always there as much as she could be, when she wasn't working. She, fighting for me and standing up for me was like...
Now connected to iPhone.
Oh, it is?
69.
Oh, okay. Hey, 69's great.
Yeah.
Everyone loves 69.
Well,
not
that's
everybody.
Perfect.
That's great.
Yeah.
Your
Many,
house is so weird.
I know my house talks at the perfect time about very appropriate things.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like, it's time for 69. It's like, what? Why do you have to set an alarm? Why do you have to set an alarm for that?
I'm not quite prepared for this.
I'm not either. I don't need, what's happening?
Yeah, great to meet you. Ready?
It's like, this is my show. This is how we do it.
Oh, yeah, they didn't tell you?
No.
That's how I like it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
That's how I like it. Don't warn them. Let's go.
Come on. A little bit more clarity, but it's a nice surprise. I mean, she was just like a fighter, and I think that I got that from her. And her fighting revolved around inequity. Like if someone's not being treated fairly, or if they're being bullied in any ways, she was the first one to get in someone's face about things. And I think that was, and she, I mean, to a point at which sometimes I was like, come on, like chill out a little bit. But and it got kind of like more intense as she got older too, you know. But I definitely think I got that from her. I don't like it when people are being treated unfairly, and I will definitely say something and get in people's faces, and not in a confrontational, not to fight or anything like that, but just to reflect back what they're doing and to have them understand how they're affecting people, and or to just speak out, you know, in general. I mean, you know, even like the whole like Israel-Palestine thing has been such a tough thing to talk about because it's like the most leading thing right now in the world that we see, you know, and that's a tough thing to talk about because if you talk about it either way, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But it just comes down to a human level, and I'm just a humanist, and I have Israeli friends, I have Palestinian friends, but like, yeah, there's like no way, like, you know, it's hard to talk about things in the world now because everything's so divided. So my big thing is like, I'm trying to get rid of the division thing. Like some people will be like, oh, you're liberal. And it's like, I'm not liberal or conservative. It's like, I'm just a human being that wants people to live in a world where everyone can express themselves and feel like they can do that safely. And you're never going to eradicate people judging people. You're never going to eradicate people,
Thank you.
saying,
I always say that.
That's not
as
gonna
long as
happen.
there are humans on this planet, there's going to be prejudice, racism,
Sure.
ugliness, and if we choose, so much more beauty.
Oh, way more.
So much more kindness.
Yes.
I think most people lead with that, you know?
Yes, and it's the kindness aspect, and that's my thing. I can't, you know, when I have some of my very liberal friends start going off and railing against, you know, these conservative people, because I come from Montana, so there's a lot of conservative people. I have friends who are, you know, probably voted for Trump or whatever, you know, but they're still my friends, and we can discuss things, and I don't like, because those types of opinions or those orientations are a fragment of what a person is. It's just a slice. It doesn't define, it's not a monolith. You know, this one position is not a monolith. So I just try to use humor and absurdity to kind of to kind of show back how ridiculous it is to reduce people in that way.
Yes.
You know, and you're not going to make any progress or convince anybody otherwise of anything. You're only entrenching people when you remain like steadfast in your side, because even if you do have, you know, even if it's like morally probably more correct to your position, it still doesn't help to entrench the other side. And so that's my thing. I think for my mom was just kind of like the type of person who would immediately say things in an intense way, but she was saying how she was feeling and she was honest about it.
Yes.
And so I figured out a way to do my own version of that, you know.
Well, and I think if your goal coming into a conversation with someone is to change their mind, that's on you. Like, how about we just respect the fact that we have our own opinions based on usually our experiences.
Totally.
You know, I don't often get to sit down and have real conversations. This sounds weird, but with biracial kids like me. And I didn't know it was a problem until someone told me it was a problem much later in life. And I don't even, you know what I mean by problem, like what? And very recently as well, where in today's culture, it feels like even more so than when we were little, you have to choose.
Oh, yeah.
And I've gotten in a lot of trouble for refusing to choose.
Yeah.
Because my forever joke will be, you know, I'm pretty sure my white mom was there the day I was born.
Yeah, totally.
What a blessing in my mind to have grown up with such diversity and being loved by my black side, my white side. And it was just one big melting pot, which I thought is what we wanted. Did you ever feel some of the pressures that I felt where it's like, oh, you're light, you're not one of us, but you're not white, and then your hair is different, and then...
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I didn't, not necessarily in a way that people were like, you have to choose, but like, there's definitely a pressure because like, I'll always be viewed as a black person. Like that's something that I'll probably never not be able to be viewed as, just because it's just easier for people. They're like, oh, he's brown. I mean, some people are like, oh, he could be Middle Eastern maybe, or it could be, you know, whatever. But I don't really, I mean, I identify I don't know how I identify. I just identify as a hybrid. I just like think of myself as a hybrid. And I also think the future is hybrid. And I also think that hybrid power, like I think that there's
Is that
like,
we need to call ourselves?
yeah, hybrids, man. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's like I always all my friends. I have a bunch of friends that are mixed race and kind of half and halves, and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're like welcome to hybrid life or whatever. Give me that hybrid life.
Nice.
But
Steve Winwood? Is that
yeah, Wynwood,
Yeah.
yeah, great place in Miami too. But
It is.
yeah, he started it. He owns it. No,
I didn't know that.
No, yeah, could you imagine that? No, he doesn't. He
Don't.
doesn't. He
I'm
doesn't.
so
It doesn't. It's owned by Steve Winwood.
I'm like Steve Winwood. No, it's a different spelling, I think, by the way. Nice try.
Yeah, I did it. Finally. I got her. No, that's why I came on the show. No,
Totally got me.
I totally got you. You've been ungettable for years, but now, no, I don't know. It's just a weird thing. It's like I identify with my black side. I mean, I think musically and artistically is where I've identified with my black side. I think generally I understand, cock culture, Caucasians.
Yeah. Why don't
But-
we clarify?
Yeah.
Cock culture.
Cock culture, like the cocks, it's like, I don't know, but like, like
CAUC.
yeah, totally.
Culture.
Yeah, CAUC, culture. Yeah, cock culture.
Cock
But, it's like, I know the language, I know how to, to steer. But my thing is like, I like all human beings. So for me, I like being a hybrid person because it's like, well, I'm like half oppressor, half oppressed, it's like I have like the epigenetic history of both lineages. So I feel like I can understand Caucasian culture because I grew up primarily in Caucasian culture. But I think the thing that comes through is my music and like my sense of rhythm and my sense of musical understanding, musicality.
Can you teach me the rhythm part?
It's
I'm like, Dad,
Yeah.
my black dad. Where were you? What happened?
He's like, yeah, you don't need it. You're gonna need the other stuff more. Like your engineering degree.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, I think that for me, that's where I identify. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's where my black culture or essence comes from, is really musically, but also the Caucasian aspect. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's also European. It's not necessarily like American Caucasian. It's like French
Yep.
Caucasian, which is different because they have a different association to Africans and how they're integrated in their society and how people are treated over there. Whenever I went to France, like no one ever really commented on my color. Like I never got that. I never got a sense of that in France. In the United States, I guess I would have, but again, I never really chose to acknowledge it.
Right.
I didn't want to play that game. So for me, 101. No, but I wanted to just chill. See everybody as a human being. And yeah, I grew up all my like crushes were all white. It's like Molly Ringwald and fucking Ali Sheedy. And, I did have a crush on Whitney Houston. She was
who didn't?
ridiculous. Come on,
Right.
Jesus. But and there were a couple women of culture, but also there weren't a lot of women of culture that were represented. In the culture that I was growing up in. And then all the black men were generally like, it's that cycle of how minorities get accepted into the general populace, which is like, I think, what do they say? They start as like downtrodden, and then they become clowns, and then there's an evolution from clowns into more socially acceptable areas. And so, you had like Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, who obviously garnered a ton of respect, but they did come from a kind of a clownish entertainment background because that's how you got in, But then they started speaking up and saying things, and then of course you had like the whole Black Power movement in the '60s and the '70s, which I totally was down with. Only in that I believe that everybody should be treated fairly,
Right.
So I don't know. It's a weird thing. I still wrestle with it today. I'm like, I just think of myself as a being. But I do like that I can go into black communities, or I can go to South America, or I can go to places where people are brown, and I can fit in more easily. I feel like I'm a little bit more suited for adaptation because I know the language. I can go to Sweden and completely get down with Swedes and Norwegians and Finns and the whitest of the whites. But I can also, if I go to Africa, I may not necessarily look like them because I have West African. You know, my dad was West African-ish, African American, but like, you know, the lineage goes
Right.
there. But I could play the music. I can communicate in the music. And that goes for anywhere. But like, I feel like I can pretty much fit in anywhere.
I think it's an advantage.
I think it's a huge
Yeah.
advantage.
And maybe that's because of the way we were raised and
Yes.
had really good examples on both sides and beautiful parts of it. You know, doesn't mean it's always easy, but just because that person over there is all white doesn't mean that they don't have things too.
Totally.
Like, we all
Yeah.
do. It's not that simple when you
No.
when you try to break it down to just race. Recently on social media, I never intended to stir the pot, but now I don't care. So now you just talk, right? I don't like this whole Black National Anthem thing.
What's the Black National Anthem thing?
See?
What's that?
Well, it's newer the last couple of years, and
it
it's at the Super Bowl, and it's been at a couple major sporting events, and it's Lift Every Voice, and that's sung now before the national anthem,
Okay.
and it's called the Black National Anthem.
Okay, it's a blantham.
It's a blantham. Let's call it that. Hashtag blantham. Maybe if it were that, I would not think it was so ridiculous
Then it
and
would
like
change your mind. It's an
divisive and,
aesthetic
like,
thing.
Yes, totally. Put the hashtag. We're good and cool.
No,
But like, to me, and again, I'm sensitive because I've been told you're not enough, and then it's like, dude, we're one big melting pot. This is good. Why are we now choosing to separate again when we've been in a tough time here the past several years to say this is only our anthem, but you all better stand up. Get your ass up. You better stand up.
Yeah.
And I think we're all like, we're Americans.
Yeah.
And it's our anthem. And all the immigrants from across the world that have come here stand up for our anthem. They're all Americans.
Yeah.
What's your thought?
Well, I mean, it reminds me of, I agree with you in that I think that,
First of all, the fact that you didn't even know, like, what's that? The Black
I have no
National
idea.
Anthem. Because it's new and they're shoving it down people's throats. What are we doing?
yeah, well, I think it's also, I don't really watch sports, but I think what it is it's like when BLM first started, I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, that's cool. And then like, so there was like a 4-month period where that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then it got quantified and kind of reduced and then of course weaponized by like, you know, conservative racists or whatever that like started using the term woke and misappropriating the term, you know, and then it evolved and evolved. But
To the point where we now know that it was sadly BS and the money never went to actually help people
yes, exactly.
who needed it. So,
exactly.
So I'm glad we blew that up because it was a farce.
No, that was fine, but I mean, yes, and that's great. But even if that had not happened, I think there was a problem with it. The problem is that when you isolate and you say that this is this, and you're like, and so therefore society has to change and adapt to this. The problem with it is that it makes people feel like they're being forced to do something, and that's exactly the point of people who are xenophobic or racist or whatever. They're like, see, look, these people want to do this and they want to take over our blah blah blah. You know, all these. It doesn't really. To me, it wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful. To me, what's helpful is strong, intelligent voices speaking on notions of compassion, talking about science and art. The act of doing in a naturalistic, earnest way is more effective. I say this for all marginalized communities. Like all my queer friends I know, I'm like, isn't it nice when someone's just queer in a movie and it's not like, oh, you're queer?
Yes.
They just happen to be queer, but they work at the same job and they're not like the sassy guy. I was just talking to my friend yesterday. He's like, if I have to audition as another sassy gay man, a Latino gay man, I'm gonna barf. And I'm like, yeah, it gets old after a while. It's like, oh, can you be the sassy black secretary? Can you be the sassy
attitude, the angry black woman?
Yeah, it's like, well, you ain't gonna be the, you know, whatever. All that. It's like, that's fine. Those types of people do exist. However, they're a small portion of how people function every day in society. And we just need to like have, instead of being like, isn't it crazy that it was a woman that did this? It's like, just cast the woman in the role and tell the story.
Right.
Stop with the. I just think it doesn't do anything to help. And all my queer friends, all my friends of the whole spectrum of the rainbow, kind of all agree with this. It's just not, like one of the biggest compliments I ever got was when I went to London. I speak in an English accent a lot of times when I'm going around, just like being who I am. And so when I'm in London, I'm always talking like this, right, on stage. And it's like, it shifts a bit. It's like different regions of the UK, but I'm speaking like this. So the one thing that was really interesting is that when I started doing my shows, I did it in a British accent because as a kid, I used to watch a lot of PBS and I used to imitate British accents. So coming to London for the first time, I was nervous because I just wanted to, but I also didn't want them to think that I was making fun of them or marginalizing their culture or whatever. And I did that and, did my whole show. And then this Indian, I think he was a Pakistani English kid, came up. He's a badass drummer. And he was the guy who played, if you know the Massive Attack album, Mezzanine. There's this song, it's got this sick like frame drum beat that's like that's the drummer guy. And he came up to me and he was like, you know what I like about you? And I was like, what? And he's like, I like that you're a really funny and talented performer on stage that happens to be Black. And that was like a huge compliment to me.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, exactly. That's how it should always how it should always be. That's why, like, when sometimes I'll do comedy and I'll do like, you know how Black people be doing this and white people be doing this, and I'll talk about like Black people. It's like, how Black people always, how Black people always be like getting up in the morning and they might like see a glass of water or something like that and then they take a drink from it. You know how they always be doing that shit, or how a white person, like, they'll drop a pencil and they'll pick it up. Like,
I can't.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, after a while, I'm like, it's important to have voices where they're like, Black people are like this, or white people are like this, or Indian people are like this, or whatever. It's good. Those are like the proto leaves of like the vegetation, but higher up on the evolution chain is like we are acknowledging that we are part of the same structure.
I believe most people believe that.
Of course they do.
The vast majority of people don't care that our moms were white, don't care about anything in your name. You just might not even be that friendly, but it's like, you do you.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yes.
And I respect our differences and
Totally.
onward.
Yeah.
So I feel like we are continuing to create that.
100%. It's my main goal. It's why I try to do as many speaking engagements as I can. It's why I talk in tech communities, why I talk in every type of human community I can be in. I'm in there and I'm just talking about how much I love human beings and how much we're an incredible one organism. We're just one organism.
You have such a beautiful perspective. And so many gifts. It's like not fair. You won in that category. How many ways you're talented. What's on the other side, I mean, like we were talking about earlier about these kids, some of the bullies, and it's like, no, we can't judge them by this because we all are dealing with something. What's been the toughest thing that you've had to push through? Because you have, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
To become this incredible success and example for others, but there's
for other hybrids. No, just kidding. For all people.
That's what we are.
I mean, I think my thing is like find your crew. Like whatever you love. There's always a scene around it, right? Like whether you love landscape art or you love botany or you love science or whatever it is, or you love performing stand-up. There are people that love that as well, and there's a community of people that love those things, and it's like find people that also love what you love and like be a part of that community, because that creates a lot of confidence and unity and like sharing ideas and like bolstering your journey and then maybe turning you on to other little things and so forth. But once you have that, you can kind of apply that anywhere. You can apply that to baristas or, also I think like keeping grounded about not aspiring to be rich, not aspiring to be change your metric for what successful is. And I think successful is to be a part of a community that cares about one another, that wants to make the community better, but also Well, just make the community better, because I think by doing that, you make the world a better place anyways.
And you win.
Yes. And
I
you
think
know,
people forget that. It's like when you exude kindness and treat people that way, like it feels good. We talk about all
it's
the
awesome.
muscles in your face. It's much harder to frown
Yes.
than it is to smile.
Yes.
And if you think about it, it's true.
Yes, it's
so important.
It's completely true. I love it. I mean, that's why I think the world is far too silly of a place to take it this seriously.
That's why we need you. You inspired me with your the interview that you had done before your mother passed away.
Oh, yeah.
To document, to have certain questions answered. Why did you want to have your mom interviewed before she passed away?
Well, she would tell a lot of stories. Like, like ask any of my friends, they probably heard a million stories about me 1,000 times. She just loved telling stories, and she would tell a lot of stories. And so I wanted her to tell those stories to a new person that might tease out other stories that I hadn't heard about. And so the ghostwriter that I was working with on the book, I told him that I wanted to do that. And so he was like, well, my father speaks French. He's a Lebanese. And he speaks French, and he could do the interview. I was like, oh, that'd be great. And so I was in Montana, and I set up the iPad and, got her in front of it, and then just let her do the interview. And it was really cool to hear the stories. I wanted to just get another perspective on all this stuff. I tried to record her as much as possible. I still have to sit down and actually find all the recordings. I have tons of voicemails from her. A lot of them, I haven't even gotten the courage to listen to them yet, because I know it's going to be heavy. But I wanted to collect as much information about her life as possible before she passed. And luckily she didn't have any cognitive issues. She was still very sharp. And so I wanted to take advantage of that.
What was it? Was it cancer?
It was, actually, I don't know what it was. She got RSV, whatever, the RSV1, respiratory infection or whatever. So she got that, and that kind of took her down. And she was already having issues with her heart. She had a heart attack. She was taking heart medication. I think it was just a confluence of
a lot of things.
That, surviving the viral thing, because she was in a recovery hospital thing, for a month or something like that. And and then she was just really missing my dad. She would talk about how she was missing my dad a lot, and I think that she was in a lot of pain, and was just like, I gotta get the hell out of here. I think that you're on a good course. You're here for me as much as you can be, and now it's time to get out of here. But yeah, I just wanted to get as much as I could about her, because I wanted to my dream is to get an AI and just dump all the information I have about her, and then have it go out online and try to find family connections and stuff like that, and aggregate her existence, and then compile all the photographs, all the 8mm footage, and create a persona for her, and my dad, create a persona to kind of walk in the world, to time travel, because wouldn't that be intense? That's kind of my dream. I want to be able to do that, and I want to also do that for my life, and just all the data that I have, just dump it in, and that way you can composite. So if you're have your Apple headset on, because that's been my dream, is to just be able to swim through your history, to go remember that club that we were at in 1997?
Yeah.
Here's that club, and here's that show. Basically, even if it's just a bunch of 3D stills, and you can walk around your living room as though you're in the club, and you're looking around, you're like, yeah, the stage. Oh, and I remember the exit was over there.
Things are going to come back.
Yeah, it's think about how you enrich, how much time goes by in every day that we exist, especially in modern times. The fidelity of data that's recorded and that we have to deal with is has increased insane. I mean, if you think about growing up in the 80s, you worried about making a sandwich. You were excited about your television show that was going to come on. Maybe you got to play with your toys, and your friend was going to come over. It was pretty basic. And then you fast forward to now, it's you're probably in contact. I mean, you're in entertainment, so you're in contact with a ton of people. So probably on every every day you're probably texting on average, I'm texting at least like 20 people, at
Right.
least, maybe more. So you're in contact with hundreds of people on multiple platforms, DMs and emails
Yeah,
and text
nonstop.
messages and voice notes and all this stuff. So we have all this data and we're overstressing our systems. And so I'm like, well, what if we could just aggregate our histories and comfortably, in a more human way, using technology, but in a human way, like re-experience the things that we kind of take for granted that have passed every day. Like every day is amazing,
Yeah.
but like we almost don't get time to appreciate it. That was an amazing day. Okay, now here's today. I think that was an amazing. Oh, this wasn't a good day. Okay, and it's like so much in the past, and you're like, we've all lived so much. Like we have very, very rich lives, and it's hard to show it.
To use this crazy, sometimes scary, overwhelming technology in that way would be beautiful. Be
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, I've been dreaming of this for 10 years, but the new Apple Vision Pro headset, whatever, the fact that I could be sitting here wearing the headset and I could be recording a portion of this interview and we're talking or whatever, and then I pull it off and then I go home tonight and I put it on and I'm sitting in a chair like this, I'm completely in this reality again.
Absolutely.
And it's 3D and there's like
Oh.
depth and like all the light and the way it's coming off of your hair and everything. It's all there. And having those kinds of memories, I think, it could be like a bad thing, like addictive wise. People are like, I'm living in the past and I'm addicted. Maybe there'll be like retro addictive things. But I just think it reminds you of the richness of your life.
Well, because I feel that way almost every day. Like, oh gosh, first of all, it's flying by
Yes.
way too fast.
Yeah.
Frankly, like I said, you inspired me because I did the interview myself with my mom.
Yeah. You
A couple
did?
months ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Is she no
Yeah.
longer?
No, she's here.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I didn't, you don't know what tomorrow brings.
Mhm.
My dad's still here too, but has a couple kinds of cancer and you just don't know.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, I don't want to go there. I don't want to think about this
Mhm.
because I don't want to feel that.
Yes, it's a lot.
But you better, because tomorrow, literally, okay, it's one thing if it's something is coming, another thing if it's a car accident, right?
Yes.
So I did that. And it was, it's really, really
I
hard.
know, right on
right?
the edge every
Right.
time you even talk about it. Mhm.
Yes, just not even talking about the questions I asked her. So thank you.
Yes.
Number one. Number
Yeah.
two, what do you think it'll take to listen to those voicemails?
Man, I almost did it the other day, and then it was a later voicemail, but it reminded me, it was the caretaker saying like, her phone works, because I was worried because she wasn't getting calls
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. And I was like, her phone works, and that made me sad too, because I remember the time when she was like, I was trying to get a hold of her, and for some reason she wasn't picking up at home, and I was worried about her. And I think I'll listen to him sometime. I'm definitely just gonna like set aside time. I'm just gonna say like, I'm gonna do it now, and I want to record all of them, even if they're monotonous. I just want to like,
Have to.
I want them not be on a server somewhere that could like melt and I won't have that recording anymore. But at the same time, I'm also not afraid of losing data. It's like I will do everything I can to. I've digitized all the 8mm footage that I have. I've tried to record as much as I can. But I think, those things are important because, and I tell my friends all the time, I'm like, even if they're having problems with their parents, I'm like, don't take your parents for granted. Don't take your family for granted. Like take the time, even if you have problems with them or whatever. It's like, you don't have to reconcile it, but just like in your mind, set aside a space for the fact that they are a person that has lived longer than you have, and they came from a mother and a father, and they had a whole life, before you, and what was that like for them, and what led them to the choices that brought them together with your parent, and I think that's important. For me, it's like I want to discover more about my mom. Like when she passed away, I was like, well, I want to discover more. I want to figure out like, what was she really like in France? Maybe she was an asshole. Maybe she was just like a dick, and everyone was just like,
Sassy.
she's just like, oh no, man, I'm glad that she moved away. I don't know, who knows? I don't think so. But I'm just saying, like, it's nice to figure out, because that's a part of who you are. And that's someone that's here now, and like, don't don't skimp on that. And I had some friends that were just like, thanks to you for your whatever your memoir. It's like I started talking to my mom again, and I was just like, wow, that's heavy.
So especially because I don't think people realize how difficult it is to take on that process and to write that.
Yeah.
And so painful and therapeutic all at the same time, maybe.
Yes.
And look what you're doing for the friend that came up to you and said that.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like by doing and by becoming and being who you are, you can affect a lot of change. And I think that that's something I've learned from the book. I hear a lot of like weirdo kids, it's like whatever I'm making art-wise, I'm always thinking about the disenfranchised kid that's in the back of the class that gets maybe picked on, but is a brilliant artist or has an amazing music taste or whatever, that feels disconnected. It's like, that's who I'm writing for. That's because that was kind of me, even though I was still pretty friendly. I was affected. I had a kind of a romantic melancholia, with like I loved the idea of being the outsider. It was like kind of romantic in a way, even though I had access to friends and things like that.
Right.
But that's who I'm writing for, and that's why. I went to a DJ night the other night where it was like young kids. I only showed up because a kid said Reggie as a response to one of my videos, and I looked him up, and he was a DJ, young kid, goes by Sonova as a DJ, and like jumps up on the decks and like gets people going, is like super jazzed and like really young and just like whatever. And it was a night of like a bunch of young DJs, and they were all like, "Oh my God, why are you here? Oh, why are you here?" And they're like, just like, "This is so cool. You're here. Why are you here?" And my friend that I came with, he's like, "How do you end up in these places?" And I'm like, "It's because if I need to go to the places where the young artists are just starting out. And like I need to show kind of a I don't know why that's emotional. But yeah, I need to support, because I know how hard it is. And yeah, just like I want to put in the work, to like show that I know where you're coming from. I know how hard it is. And yeah, I want you to know that there's like another generation, Gen Xers. It's like I believe in all the generations kind of talking to each other and like helping one another, and I think it's important. I don't want to be siloed in. I know my friends have families and stuff like that, and so they don't get out as much. And I figure, well, I don't have a family. I can get out there. I can put in the work. I'll do it for you,
But you know what that feels like?
Yeah.
That's why is that fair? That's why you're making an effort to go there and to humanize yourself to these kids. Like, they have hope. Like, it's one thing to watch you on TV.
Yeah.
It's another thing when you walk your butt in there and they're like, oh my gosh, he took time for us.
Yes. Yes. It's I think about times where, I don't know, it's like, whatever, an amazing musician, picks me to like be in a jam session with them. And I was just like, whoa, for real? Like they actually want to, it's like, yeah, they want, and there's something about not getting so comfortable that you separate yourself, because like where I draw my information, all my energy and my creativity from is rooted in the openness of the totality of human experience. If that doesn't sound too crazy, but it's like, so if I start to believe that I'm responsible for all the creativity in my life, I start to turn off the spigot. It starts to turn more and more off. And that's going to happen. We see some artists, it's like, you're like, what's going on? Like they're not quite, it's because oftentimes they're disconnecting themselves from their source, especially when you come from someplace like from nothing, essentially. It's like, we were like middle classish when that existed in the 80s. But my parents they worked hard to be middle class. They were really hard workers. So I felt like I benefited from that. But I was around kids that lived in trailer homes and, and I shared stuff with them. And I wanted to be friends with them and stuff like that. And I was maybe a little bit too much of a people pleaser, but I still had good times with them and I liked sharing. I always loved sharing. And still to this day, I get some compliments, where someone says like, hey, you're a like a famous person or a celebrity type person that doesn't live like a celebrity. And it's like all my friends are like baristas and like skaters and like still to this day. And of course I have friends that are doing well in their careers and things of that nature, but oftentimes we don't get to hang out because they're so busy.
Right.
So I need to be with like the weirdo bedroom producers and the weirdo person that loves macrame or like dumpster dives or whatever. It's like I like those people because they're real and they're an army of those are the people you want by your side when something goes down.
Heck yeah.
They know how to do shit.
Yep. But you're speaking again back to that kid who discovered his talent to diffuse a situation, whatever it may be, to make someone smile. And by sharing that, like, I don't know, to me, it's pretty clear why you're on this earth. Yes, to entertain, but to, and brilliantly, by the way, but to uplift as well.
Yeah, I'm trying.
What do you, can I just ask you finally, because I'm so inspired and I don't know what you believe, but I believe your family, your parents are watching closely.
Yeah.
What do you think they're most proud of?
Wow. I mean, my dad was a hard one to understand. I think he was proud, but wasn't very like, he was just like,
Military.
I'm tired. Like I'm a war vet. I was in Vietnam, so I have emphysema, whatever, but I know that my mother would always tell me that he was proud. Hard to know. I wish I could have like broken through the shell and I wish I had the consciousness back when I was like in my 30s or whatever, and just go like, Dad, what the fuck what do you think about that? But I think he was proud. I think my mom my mom was kind of basic. I think she just knew as long as I was happy doing what I was doing, that made her happy. And all the investments that they made, it's like, that's part of parenting. It's like all the energy I put in there. Look, it happened. It's like you're basically you're a human gardener.
Yeah.
And so you're gardening a human being. And so you're hoping that you provide the right situations and information. And so I think that they're just most proud that I am who I am. I think like I really stuck to my guns with my relationship to myself is something ongoing, and we're all doing that. We'll all be doing that for the rest of our lives. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I think they're just happy that I'm doing what I want to be doing, and I'm trying to make the world a better place in whatever small way that I can.
You're showing up at those clubs, and you're talking to those kids.
Yeah.
And that obviously, it's not just them, that they're not the ones winning alone. Like you win. We win when we give that back. I do think that that's therapeutic, especially when you're trying to make sure that they don't doubt themselves as long as we did, maybe.
Yeah.
There's so much doubt. There's so much fear.
There's so much of that, and I'm happy, I did this thing called Pop Tech and ran into Brian Eno, and Brian Eno took a liking to me, and then he started inviting me to all of his festivals, and so I was like booked at tons of his festivals. I was just like, this is crazy. This is like, but he's like of another generation. He's the generation above X and like whatever, the boomers, whatever they're called. Yeah. But like, I guess it would be like,
I can't keep track.
What is it? ABC. What's before X?
There was no W.
Yeah,
No.
Generation W.
No. Just make up another name for
That's
it.
so dumb.
Wait, what are we?
Well, they were called like the Greatest Generation or whatever.
Yes.
I was like, which is too
and
much
wait, what did you
We're
say
X.
we are? We're X, but no. I'm a lot younger than you. Remember?
Oh, that's so
Number
true.
one.
That's so true. That's
Number
so true.
two,
Yeah, so you're a Z.
No, what did we say at the beginning? We came up with a new name for us.
Oh.
Hybrids.
Hybrids. Yeah.
Hashtag hybrid.
Yeah. Hashtag hybrid.
You gotta be there for all the hybrids out there.
Man, I'm there for the hybrids. I'm there for all the. I'm there for all the weird, the theater kids, all of it. Like whenever I see like shows, and I'm like, oh yeah, the theater kids. I know those guys. Oh, the engineers. Like I identify with engineers. I identify with scientists. I identify with artists. I identify with lovers. I identify with
Fighters.
queer community. I identify with fucking people who love target practice. I love I like it all as long as everybody's like focused on bettering themselves and sharing
Yes.
in a community, and at the very least, tolerating one another. At the very
Please,
least, but
yes.
but open to conversation. You know, it's like I think that we could enter into one of the greatest ages in human history. I think it's possible in the next 20 years. And I think that is a high possibility. I think that people are going to get tired of the way that the capitalist structure is working right now. So is it working? It's like, no, not really. And it's getting worse. And the disparities are getting worse. However, possibilities are increasing and new technologies are emerging. And I think also being a part of the younger generation and me telling artists, like, get ahead of the technological trends, learn about AI, be at the table, help develop these technologies, help bypass these old systems. It's like we're not gonna crash the system and rebuild it. The only thing that's gonna happen is we're gonna have to leapfrog it, and it will create a new system on top of it and render a lot of these assholes who are resource hoarding assholes irrelevant. They're not useful. They have no use at all. The only thing they have on you is making your life harder because, like, you have to spend more money for stuff and you're getting a lot less for your money. And eventually people are getting tired of it.
Yep.
And people just want to hang out and have a good time. Like, that's all the Beastie Boys said it right. You got to fight for your right to party.
Party. Heck yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
See, this is full circle back to
want.
our era, right? You gotta fight for your right. I mean, I remember where I was with all of those songs,
yeah,
you know?
Party. Yeah, you're just like, yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do. I just want to party.
And now look, 51, 52, I'm like, can I please party?
I know. It's like, may I party, please? Mother, may I? May I now? It's like, well, there's a regulation. You can't use, it's just like, whatever. I don't know. I think we're
This
stoked.
is why we're going to be okay.
We're going to be,
because of people like you.
We're going to be all right.
I am so grateful to have gotten to spend this much time in person. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And you can, I don't want the socks back.
No, I get
you
why.
can
Yeah, legally, you cannot take them back. But I will take my Swedish Eagle socks. Yes, this would be great. This would be great for the summer.